Hey there, friends and enemies, Joper here again, and we got a bunch of new details on the characters we'll be able to play in Wayfinder once it finally does release, and I am very excited. This game looks like it could be very promising. There's a lot of cool things going on. It has some MMO elements, however, you're going to be playing as specific characters who you're going to level up and improve over the course of time. So I'm interested to see how that does play out, as you won't be having a custom made character. So that is going to change things from the traditional MMO experience, and I think make this game feel very unique. So first and foremost, we have Wingrave, who is a tank character. Wingrave is a Templar clad in spellforged armor and sustained by his faith in the architects. Natural leader and true champion, always ready to defend the innocent and smite the force of evil. His complexity is half of one, so not very complex at all. Just a straight tank. Support and defense are his main attributes. Excels at close combat, specializes in supporting allies, summoning shields of light, and healing his allies even as he calls down divine judgment on his enemies. So again, traditional tank character. This first ability is Righteous Strike. Looks kind of interesting. Looks like it's going to be one of his base attacks. Little giant sword. Then we got Radiant Pulse. This is going to form a divine shield that blocks projectiles and boosts defense. So more tanky ability here. Yeah, general shield. And then he can move around with it. That's nice to know. Then we've also got Judgment. Marks enemies for judgment. Anybody hitting a judged enemy will restore their own health. That could be very useful, and I think he's going to be a character who's going to be necessary for endgame things, I would imagine, with an ability like that. Especially to sustain his team. Divine Aegis. Powerful barrier that makes anyone standing in it immune to damage and heals them over time. My God, that sounds crazy strong. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but that sounds very, very interesting. So his signature weapon is Bastion. Remember, in Wayfinder, you're not stuck to one weapon, so if you want to change these up, you can do so, but obviously his signature weapon is going to be the one that's preferred for him. The weapon ability is Power Bash, and then we have his backstory. Definitely read up on the backstories, because I find the lore of Wayfinder so far very interesting. Maybe I'll do the full breakdown of that, but right now we're just going over character details, so definitely check that out as we go through. Next character is going to be Silo, the tactician. So swift and precise, Silo makes every shot count. Born into a family smuggler, spent his life running on the radar and challenging tyrants. Now he's using the same skills to fight the gloom. Silo loves long odds. The greater the challenge, the greater the thrill. Level 2 complexity there. Switches easily between melee and range combat and is best when he embraces versatility. So you're going to want to use a little bit of everything instead of focusing on one. Host of tactical tools, distract his foes with illusions, slow them over time, or burn them all with fire, potentially setting off deadly chain reactions. So that's interesting. First up is his firebomb. Just a general kind of firebomb attack, nothing too crazy there. Next up is going to be oil bomb. Now this slows enemies, causing them to take additional damage. I'd imagine the fire and the oil would work well together, but we'll have to see. Radiant Clone. Dash backwards, leaving behind a Radiant Clone. The clone will taunt nearby enemies into attacking it until it expires or is destroyed. This will be very useful, especially if you're not having a tank character in the squad. You're going to want to distract the enemies for sure. And then we've got Ground Zero. Sends a EGG out to shock all enemies in the air for a short time, slowing them and dealing damage over time. That looks kind of interesting. I don't know if it's as strong as Wingrave's ability, to be honest. His invulnerability and healing seems like it's going to be more useful, but this could be, depending on how it scales and how much damage you're able to do, it could be very, very interesting there. Signature weapon is a long shot, built by Cell and Vex. The first strike won a fortune from the Avar Reeve high-stakes shooting contest and uses gold to found the network of smugglers. Deadeye. So the weapon ability, 3 Deadeye weak spots appear on every enemy in range. Hitting these weak spots result in high damage and guaranteed crits. Okay, that could be very, very powerful for sure. And there's his backstory as well. Next up, we're going to get Nis, the Shadow Dancer. She looks like an assassin character. Kin to the shadows and darkness serves as her weapon and her cloak. She's one of the deep Eldrin and ancient people who now serve the malevolent precursors. When Nis and her clan challenged the precursors, her family was wiped out, and Nis escaped into exile. Deadly and swiftness cares little for humanity, but she is sworn to destroy the precursors, and the Seekers can help her take care of revenge. She is a level 4 complexity Elden Shadow Dancer, and as her best when she's in motion, she dances around her enemies, defending herself with the Cloak of Shadows and striking them down with Spectral Blades. She is a heavy offensive character, and I believe is going to be one of the most picked for people who just want to be pure DPS. So she got Shadow Step, dash in line, dealing damage. After a short delay, a Gloom Clone will dash from your initial position to you, dealing damage. So you can see that where the secondary attack hits as well. Umbra Aura. Nis is empowered by Umbra Magic, causing the next 3 dodges to pierce a nearby enemy with shadows. Okay, so you can see when she dodges, it does that little attack there. Okay, so you don't even have to be in a range to do that. That's kind of crazy. Become briefly immune to attacks and damage to enemies in front of Nis. So only from the attack, from the front, will you become immune. Okay. That could be useful for staying alive for sure. Gloom Shroud. For the next few seconds, Shadow Step can be used at no cost. Oh, so you're just seeing her spam her shadow attack there. That's really probably where her high damage output is going to be, I would imagine, for sure. She does the hand signs as well, as you would expect. So her signature weapon, Knight's Edge, Ancestral Blade of the Duskin Eldrin, Spirits of the Fallen Duskull, are bound by the daggers and strike out at enemies of a worthy wielder. Daggerfall forms multiple magical daggers that float around the player and fire towards enemies as attacks when enemies come within range. That's a good defensive ability for a character like her, for sure. Senja the Champion. She looks sick. I like her design a lot. Before the Gloom swallowed the warrior, Senja was the greatest gladiator in the history of the Imperial Arena. She's the last of the Iron Sisters, a league of warriors from the distant Dominion of the Seven Winds. She smites her enemies with both storm and steel. Yeah, her design, that's the character that I'm looking for. Level 3.5 complexity. Senja loves to put on a show. She delights in close combat and can use her affinity for storm to drag her enemies close and blast them across the battlefield in bursts of lightning. So she got high defense, good, solid attack, and solid control. So she's very well rounded, except for the range department. Her first ability is Gladiator Pummel. Pull forward, then hold to showboat. Unreleased Senja punches again and buffs her next weapon attack. Fully showboating increases the damage of the following punch. So if you can really showboat, you're going to do way more damage here. You can see the charge up. Then we've got Gain Favor. Hold the showboat for the roaring crowd and filling your favor. Unreleased taunts nearby enemies while buffing Senja and their allies. So yeah, she's going to be taunting enemies a lot, I would imagine. And it feels like she's going to be a more fun tank character to play. Lightning Grasp. Use lightning to pull all displaceable enemies towards Senja in a large area. Okay, nice. And then Grand Finale. In the form of Lightning Spear, Senja charges to smash an enemy, dealing massive damage to them and then fully filling the crowd's favor. So yeah, she's going to use this to do a bunch of damage and then buff herself as well. Yeah, she looks like she's going to be one of the more fun characters to play. Her signature weapon is Colossus. Ceremonial weapon of the champion of the Imperial Arena. Used only in the most important matches. It's deeply insulting to use this glorious blade against goblins and shrikes. Gladiator Slice performs a quick melee attack that buffs the next ability. Using Gladiator Slice again will perform an empowered Gladiator Slice, dealing additional damage up to 2 times. Nice. Now we've got Kyros the War Mage. He looks awesome. I like his design a lot. Arcane power flows through Kyros, and he can unleash this force to devastate the enemies. He's the last survivor of a forgotten civilization, a wizard that transformed his flesh into pure mystical energy. Though his people are long lost, he's sworn to keep the gloom from destroying the world that remains. Level 1.5 complexity, so not that crazy. He's a glass cannon. You can see range is good, offense is good, everything else is not so good. While he prefers to avoid close combat, Kyros wields tremendous mystical power. He can scatter foes with his blast of raw energy, form arcane shields, and crush enemies with massive shockwaves. So you can see here his Savage Rake rakes the ground with violent energy, dealing damage to all enemies in front of Kyros. Arcane fragments can be consumed to cast Savage Rake at no cost. Siphon Radiant. Release a wave of energy. Yeah, his abilities look sick. That damages enemies and absorbs arcane power, reducing cooldowns and granting an arcane fragment. So that's going to make his abilities cost nothing as far as his magic goes. Arcane Focus marks an enemy in the area. As enemies are hit, the mark builds in power and detonates at max when it expires. Okay. And now we've got Shockwave. Conjure shock and awe from the sky, resulting in a gigantic fist dealing a massive area damage. Okay. Yeah, that he has the best looking abilities in my personal opinion. Signature weapon, Epitaph. Crafted by the infamous Mother of Shadows, Epitaph feeds on the essence of its enemies, even as it spills their blood. It whispers to you, urging you to battle. Arcane Harvest is the ability. Spinning Slash deals damage at 360-degree arc and steals ability power from enemies. Increases the player's ability power per enemy hit. So if you're surrounded, you can use this and then use your abilities, and it's going to go very well for you, I would imagine. Those are the characters we know of so far. I believe there are more coming down the line. I would imagine a game like this will introduce more and more characters over the course of time, I would hope, and hopefully with a lot more diversity as well. We look like we have two kind of tank characters, two rogue support characters, and then one mage so far. We don't really have a dedicated healer, which I think is a good thing. Sometimes games will have healer roles that don't do a lot besides support, and what that leads to is a lot of people not wanting to play those specific characters because just healing and not contributing in the damage or doing damage numbers yourself can kind of feel less fun than the DPS characters, or the characters that can weave in a bit more damage as well. So I hope it doesn't fall into the trap of having those traditional roles, because versatile characters who can do a lot and excel at different things but provide value to the team in different ways are important. So I'm excited about this game, man. I know it's a game that is still under the radar for a lot of people, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to check it out with friends. Hopefully I'll be participating in the closed beta, but we'll have to wait and see because that's coming up very, very soon. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Jopa, and I'll catch you all later. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Wayfinder content in the future as well. I almost forgot that. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I'm going to be throwing up a bunch of content on this game for sure. I hope you have a good one. Catch you later.